Welcome to the Pulse of Books, where knowledge comes alive. Here, we take you on an exciting journey through culture and science, uncovering insights that enrich our daily lives and make the journey of life more enjoyable. In every video, you will find an idea to inspire you, knowledge to empower you, and a story that helps you see life from a new perspective. If you're looking for both enjoyment and knowledge, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay connected with the Pulse of Books. The pulse of life and knowledge.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we try to cut through the noise and get to the insights that really matter. Now, when you picture retirement, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's this kind of idyllic vision, isn't it? Endless free time, long, lazy days, relaxation, finally getting around to those passions we've always put off. But beneath that sunny, postcard-perfect image, there's often an unspoken reality. Retirement isn't just a simple shift in your schedule, you see. It's profound. It's a life-altering change. And it impacts much more than just the individual. It reshapes their closest relationships in some surprising and, sometimes pretty challenging ways. So today, we're diving deep into exactly that. The surprising and often challenging ways retirement fundamentally reshapes relationships with partners, with family. Our mission really is to extract the most potent nuggets of knowledge from, a whole stack of diverse sources. We want to help you understand not just the common pitfalls, but maybe more importantly, the golden opportunities this new phase presents for your relationships. We've pulled insights from all over: clinical studies, one involved 150 retired people, practical guidance from marital and family consultants, places like Dubai even, and broad surveys too, hundreds of retired couples, including a big UK study of 660 people. These sources, different corners of the world, different fields, they all kind of converge on one crucial point: the huge relational impact of this life transition. Okay, let's unpack this. Our sources reveal that while many envision a seamless transition, retirement often brings unexpected psychological reactions and shifts in daily life that can profoundly affect those closest to us.
It's true. And what's particularly fascinating looking across these studies is how universal some of those initial reactions are. Our sources highlight that this transition into retirement carries what one study called uncertain implications, which sounds a bit vague, but it's significant. See, it's not just about leaving a job. It's often a loss of one's main avenue of social participation, that core sense of belonging. And this can manifest in really complex, unexpected psychological reactions, feelings of loneliness, isolation, or even a profound anonymity. You go from being, a recognized member of a professional community to, one source starkly calls it an emptying of contacts.
An emptying of contact. Yeah, that's such a powerful phrase, isn't it? Almost haunting. So even if someone has meticulously planned their finances, maybe prepared physically for years, you're saying this loss of social connection can still trigger intense emotional stuff like depression, a real sense of having no purpose, maybe even a deep loss of identity. And how does that then ripple out? How does it impact their partner who might not get what's happening?
Exactly. You've hit on it perfectly. This isn't just financial or logistical. It's existential for some. That emotional landscape you described, the depression, the search for purpose, that identity crisis is very real. And yes, it inevitably casts a shadow on the relationship, the partner who might still be working or maybe has a totally different vision for their own retirement. They can experience real anxiety or confusion because they simply don't understand or share the depth of these emotional changes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, jobs actually provide these spaces of freedom for both spouses. They're vital spaces where individuals satisfy personal needs, engage socially apart from the partnership. When that disappears, suddenly cohabitation increases dramatically. All that new time together, suddenly 2047. It can be a real shock to the system for couples who are used to maybe just an hour or two of focused time together in their old routine. The dynamic fundamentally shifts almost overnight.
Right. So as individuals are grappling with these intense internal shifts, the spotlight naturally turns onto the relationship itself. And our sources suggest this internal turmoil often unearths deeper fault lines within the marriage, sometimes leading couples to feel that, that old sparkle seems to disappear. What we found across the research is that retirement often acts as this critical stress test for relationships. One study highlighted that marital problems made up a striking 40% of consultations in offices specifically for retirement issues. And the complaints mostly came up in the months right after retirement. The key insight here seems to be, retirement doesn't necessarily create new problems, but it powerfully exposes existing vulnerabilities, unaddressed issues that the busy work life may be masked before.
That's a crucial distinction, yes.
Yeah.
It's often an amplifier.
And the issues can manifest in various ways. Frequent arguments, sure, maybe about money or one partner feeling controlled by the other, or maybe feeling they're trying to control the kids too much. There's also what one source called the absence of communication. Not literally silent, but that feeling of a partner being absent around the house, even though they're physically right there. It's a loss of genuine connection, sort of drifting apart while still in the same space. Other common signs, well, sadness, depression, sometimes an unexpected increase in sexual desire, or even increased alcohol consumption. These are all indicators, really, of those underlying relational shifts finally bubbling up to the surface.
And we absolutely can't overlook the financial piece, which came up again and again in our sources as a major flashpoint. One study showed 2 out of 5 couples argue about money post-retirement. And for 1 in 5, the arguments happen because one partner wants to spend savings, enjoy it now, while the other wants to save, for security. But it's not just about budgets, is it? This also links to these surprising discoveries. 29% of couples realizing they didn't actually have the same hopes for their golden years. That's nearly a third. Entering this massive life phase with fundamentally different visions for what it should even be.
That really raises an important question, doesn't it? What's truly behind these surface arguments? Whether it's money or how to spend time, often it's a deeper lack of harmony, maybe a weakening of that core bond that was previously masked by, well, work obligations, work-provided structure, distraction, maybe even a shared purpose outside the home. Once that's gone, these deeper issues can no longer be ignored so easily. It explains why, sadly, some separations do occur after retirement. It's rarely the retirement itself causing the breakdown, but more like revealing an existing fragility that maybe hadn't been faced before.
So these big shifts, internal and relational, they inevitably reshape daily life in really intimate ways. A crucial theme our sources highlight is this delicate balance that suddenly becomes so important. Togetherness versus personal space. One partner might suddenly want to do absolutely everything together, like everything, while the other really needs more time alone, or time with their own friends, or for personal hobbies. This is apparently a very common source of conflict. 1/3 of couples in that UK study said one spouse preferred constant togetherness, while the other wanted more interaction with friends. It's like renegotiating proximity, almost from scratch.
Indeed. And this increased cohabitation, being together all the time, it can lead to real friction, even to what our sources describe as phobic anxieties, which sounds quite extreme, but it reflects a real feeling. One striking example is retired husband syndrome. Now, that's a term used when a spouse, often the wife, starts to feel uneasy, maybe even fearful of being constantly controlled or sort of invaded by their newly retired partner's constant presence. But it's not exclusive to one gender, of course. As one interviewee put it, and this really sticks with you, he said, "As I lose my cruising speed, I fear falling under my wife's influence, becoming just an appendage to her, just going wherever she wishes." It perfectly captures that deep fear of losing one's sense of self, that autonomy that retirement can unexpectedly trigger.
Wow, yeah, that quote really hits home. It captures that fear perfectly. And the dynamics get even more complicated, I imagine, with asynchronous retirement. When one spouse retires but the other keeps working. Because then new challenges pop up. Old habits change, but you're creating circumstances that just can't be shared in the same way. This can lead to jealousy, maybe resentment. Like, wives might expect retired husbands to suddenly take on way more housework, support their ongoing careers, while husbands might pressure their wives to retire with them, messing up their own plans for activities or leisure. It's like a double adjustment, as one source put it.
Absolutely. The demands, the expectations, they can become profoundly misaligned. And that creates a breeding ground for frustration, especially if those expectations aren't talked about openly and negotiated, ideally well in advance.
Yeah.
Without that dialogue, resentment just builds on both sides.
Okay, let's delve into a really specific and often surprisingly contentious area that comes up from these new dynamics, household chores. It sounds mundane, maybe, but it's not just about who does the dishes, is it? It's about much deeper relational shifts. Our sources suggest this can either be an area where couples grow together, maybe adopt more egalitarian roles, or it can become a real minefield of resentment and disagreement. What's really going on there?
Yeah, it's surprisingly complex. When a man retires and enters the domestic sphere more permanently, he's stepping into territory traditionally seen as feminine. Now that, coupled with the loss of his professional identity, can really disrupt his sense of self, especially if he resists taking on what he sees as a more feminine role in the home. On the flip side, a woman who has maybe maintained autonomy over the home for years, she might find her established rules, her routines, suddenly altered because she has to share not just the space, but the decision-making and, therefore, the power with her husband. These aren't just superficial problems, like you said. They often hit fundamental aspects of the relationship, things like recognition of each other's contribution, accepting individual preferences, even those unspoken power dynamics within the marriage. It gets deep.
And retirement isn't just about the couple, right? It also dramatically reshapes the wider family dynamics. It's an opportunity, sure, to strengthen emotional ties, but it also means finding a new balance, a balance between commitment to family and individual goals. It sounds like a real tightrope walk for many. How does this tend to play out?
It absolutely can feel like that. We see women, for example, often worrying about keeping their sense of freedom from family obligations, especially if adult children or grandchildren start leaning on them perhaps a bit too much. One interviewee put it perfectly, she said. I had to set them straight. I told them I have my own life, and that includes taking care of you. Setting boundaries. Men, on the other hand, might actually want to get closer to children and grandchildren, maybe to compensate for past separations due to work. Sometimes seeking to make amends for perceived absences during their careers. It's a different kind of negotiation happening there.
Right. And then there's the dual role of caregiving and grandparenting. That seems like a big one. Our sources highlight that while caregiving can produce mutual satisfaction, if it requires burdensome sacrifices, takes too much energy, it can quickly lead to stress and resentment. Seems obvious, but important. Similarly, grandparenting is described as exciting, rewarding, a delightful adventure even, that can rejuvenate older adults. But as crucial, it's important to love and care for grandchildren from a position subordinate to that of parents. Our sources warn that if becoming a grandparent means your kids become too dependent on you, well, caring for the grandkids can quickly switch from being a delight to being a real burden. That's a fine line.
It really emphasizes the profound importance of clear boundaries and negotiation within the whole extended family. The quality of interaction in the marriage of the elderly couple often depends significantly on the agreements they make with their adult children and grandchildren. And this requires mutual understanding, maturity, open dialogue, to avoid either infantilizing the adult children or overburdening the retired couple. It's really about respecting everyone's freedom and their individual lives at different stages.
Okay, so after exploring all these potential challenges, wow, from psychological shifts to chores to family dynamics, what's the path? How do you make retirement a truly golden period for relationships? Our sources offer some genuinely golden tips, starting with what one author called the foundational element, communication, which she says is, quote, more important than ever.
Absolutely. Foundational. The first tip for effective communication: listen actively. Really listen. As couples are now closer, physically than ever, being genuinely interested in each other's experiences, their perspectives, it's paramount. You both have interesting things to discuss navigating these transitions, and let's be honest, facing the future at this stage can be scary, so you need to be able to talk about it openly. Second, try to avoid criticism and accusations. Instead of pointing fingers, express how you feel, what personal needs you'd like satisfied. That tends to foster empathy, makes your partner much more receptive to supporting you. And third, deal with compassion. Recognize that marriage, especially later in life, really thrives on compassion. This means things like speaking gently, offering help when you see a struggle, tolerating mood swings because they happen, empathizing with their anxieties, and learning to overlook the small superficial stuff to grow closer. It's about nurturing that deep bond.
Those are great. And beyond communication, our sources introduce other vital tips for a harmonious retirement. One is respecting individual privacy. This sounds absolutely essential for harmony. Finding that sweet spot, right, between time together and time for individual pursuits, hobbies, relationships. As one source puts it, and I love this, creating a world for oneself in order to better reconnect with the other is perhaps one of the keys to success in retirement. Makes sense. Another key is to actively develop a strong friendship within the marriage. Cultivating that friendship allows for positive venting, safe expression of feelings without judgment, and just deep mutual understanding. And finally, a balanced financial vision. So crucial. Couples have to openly consider their current financial status, avoid overspending, prevent those disputes. It's not just money, it's shared values, trust.
Ultimately, retirement is described by our sources not as an ending, but as an opportunity to freely choose how we wish to live. It's powerful. It's framed as a wake-up call for starting a new life. It really becomes about being a team, being a backbone for each other, embracing with noble affection, and appreciating the long journey you've already taken together. It's about creating a calm, stable, warm environment that supports this new stage, allowing both partners to thrive individually and as a couple.
So despite all the potential challenges we've uncovered today, retirement truly is this powerful opportunity. A chance to redefine life, maybe strengthen existing bonds, pursue individual growth in ways you just didn't have time for before. One interviewee summed it up perfectly, I thought. Retirement is a wake-up call for starting a new life, which I have to make the most of whatever I do. Love, affection for my wife and daughters, spending more time with my friends, nature. It's also a time to really love myself. The paramount importance here, the ultimate key takeaway from everything we looked at, seems to be planning, both financially and relationally. Planning early, openly discussing expectations, boundaries, it significantly reduces potential conflict and vastly increases the enjoyment of this new chapter. So whether you're actively approaching retirement or maybe it feels years away, perhaps consider this. What new agreement will you begin to forge with your loved ones, starting now? An agreement to ensure this new opportunity brings deeper meaning, joy, and individual fulfillment for everyone involved. Something to think about. Let that guide your conversations.